Hey everyone, welcome back to another Codex review. I'm going to try a new style today in this Codex review. I'm talking about the Necron Codex that came out recently. Sorry it's been a little while. I'm having computer issues, but life is good now. I was able to fix it. So I want to talk to you about the Necron Codex. So I'm decided to make some shorter videos and talk about, first of all, in my opinion, the best 5 units in this Codex. There's a lot of stuff that's new in this Codex, a lot of new rules. There's now, bunch more army-wide rules. The resurrection process has gotten a little more complicated, but that's cool. It happens in a phase, and you roll a number of dice, and equal the number of wounds lost, and you can bring guys back. Cool. So that's nice too. But I want to talk about the 5 best models in this codex. In the next video, I'm going to make the 5 worst. Let's just do that, because I found people are saying that my videos are a little long. Let's cover the 5 best in this codex. Now, a few things I must preface this 5 best video with. Number 1, I do play Necrons. I played a lot of Necrons in the previous edition. But I want to preface this with a few things. Number 1, it's actually incredibly surprising that the majority of the models I'm going to state my 5 best, in my opinion, are models that every Necron player should already have in their arsenal. That's the crazy part. There's a lot of new models coming out for this codex, and I'd say most of the old stuff is actually better than the new stuff. I do. I really do think that. I really do strongly feel that the old stuff, if you were a Necron player before, if you just played with your old models, the odds are you'd still have a pretty competitive army. Number 2 for this preface is I'm only choosing one Catan. Because the real answer is the best 5 models are the 5 Catans. There are now 5 Catan models, including the Lord of War. Right? There's you can do a Tesseract Vault. You could do the other 4. There's now 4 Catans shards that you can bring. They're all in the other 4 in the elite slot. There's the Nightbringer. There's the Deceiver, the Void Dragon, and the Transcendent. Right? All 5. The best 5 models in this codex are all the Catans for a variety of reasons. But that'd be boring. So I want to talk about the 5 best models. Cool. Catan will be the last one. I'll talk about that one at the end. But yes, let's get started. So the first model I really want to talk about is the HQs. Now the HQs, there are tons of choices in this codex now. By far the most decisions you have to make as a Necron player are in the HQ slot. Cool. And in my opinion, the best HQ in the codex is, and I'm going to be pretty boring when I say this, of course, it's the Catacomb Command Barge. That's my opinion, but I think it is the best. Let's get started and why. First of all, the Catacomb Command Barge it's just awesome. So, points-wise, the Catacomb Command Barge is, it's 145 points. And you can upgrade it with, plus you have to pay for the Gauss Cannon if you want to upgrade the Gauss Cannon. Plus a Gauss Cannon and a Staff of Light, right? So the Gauss Cannon is another 5 points, so it's 150. I would personally upgrade to a War Scythe for an extra 5 points, make it 155. And if you want a Resurrection Orb, 185. Now, here's why it's the best. So between 150 and 185 points, you get the fastest HQ that's very resilient, and very customizable, because you can take whatever rules you want to take, whatever faction Necron rules you want to take. The Catacomb Command Barge works very well with everyone around him. He can keep up with all the models. He's good in close combat, has decent shooting, makes everyone around him better, and he's really customizable because you can take different war gear. A lot of the other HQs are either slower, less survivable, less resilient, and yeah. So let's talk about it. As I said, for between 150 and 185 points, you get a 12-inch movement, ballistic skill, weapon skill 2, strength 5, toughness 6, 9 wounds. Because these 9 wounds, you really can't. You're gonna have a problem guarding him, but who cares? He's a vehicle. 4 attacks, leadership 10, 3 up save. He comes based with a Gauss Cannon and a Staff of Light. I personally like to upgrade the Staff of Light to a War Scythe, because then strength plus 2, AP minus 4 2 damage each, or you can give them a relic weapon as well. That'd be cool. Also, you can give them Resorb and upgrade to the Resorb relic, which makes it slightly better as well. The vehicle comes with a Gauss cannon, which is 24-inch range, heavy 3, strength 6, AP -3, DD 3. So it'll lose them to serious damage. It'll kill some Space Marines. It might kill some Terminators if you get lucky with your rolling. It's good. It'll do some damage. It has some decent shooting, sitting on 2s, owning most things on 3s. Nice stuff. Doing some damage. He can do some close combat stuff. Best thing about this vehicle, of course, it has fly. So you can fly around the battlefield, land on things. It's actually an HQ that you can move around the battlefield, get to where it needs to be. 12-inch movement is very nice. You can jump up or down. Very survivable. He also has living metal, which means that living metal basically he gains a wound back every turn during the command phase, command protocols, which is great. He has My Will Be Done, so in your command phase you can select one friendly Dynasty core unit within 9 inches of this model. Until the start of that next command phase, each time a model in that unit takes an attack, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. So again, he can it has to be core. Now in this codex there aren't that many core units. I was kind of surprised. I was hoping that, because the Space Marines had a lot of core units, the Necrons don't have as many. So, but obviously he buffs those ones around them. He's making Necron Warriors hit on, basically on 3s, which is, because the base warrior is hitting on 2s, because he's base, hitting on 3s. He has Relentless March, which each time the unit is selected to make basically all the units around them within 6 inches. Once again, Dynasty Core unit, you get 1 to their movement or advanced rolls. He has Quantum Shielding, which is great. 5 up invulnerable save, and Quantum Shielding is pretty sweet because any unmodified wound rolls of 1 to 3 always fail regardless of strength when they're shooting at him. So because he's toughness 6, that actually is pretty nice. So anything that's, strength 7, 8, 9, 10 above, doesn't wound on 2s, not wounding on 3s. Pretty sweet, helps keep him alive. He can buzz explode and can hover as well. But that's it, that's the Catacomb Command Barge. In my opinion, still the best HQ in the game for Necrons because he's customizable, he's fast, he can shoot, he can hit in close combat, he can fly. Great combinations, and he buffs those around him. To me, that's a great set of solid HQ rules. Now, number 2, I'd have to say the Cryptex. Now, out of all the Cryptex, it's up to you to decide, which one you're the favorite. My favorite one is the Technomancer, personally, maybe because of the way I run my Necrons, but I really like the Technomancer. Now, before we begin on the Cryptex, of course, there's a bunch of rules in the Codex that you can upgrade the Cryptex. And one of the upgrades that you can actually give the so they become Cryptic Arcana, as I said, is you can give them a variety of things. My favorite one is the Prismatic Obfuscate. I can never pronounce this. The Prismatic Obfuscatron. Yes, that thing. The best thing about that is it is a little bit of an upgrade. So it's 20 points, but for 20 points you can add it to your Cryptek. And unless the bear is the closest eligible target, enemy models cannot target it with ranged attacks. So forget Lookout Sir, you just can't target it. So it could hide behind a bunch of a bunch of warriors and keep buffing them and bringing them back to life. So yes, the Technomancer is my favorite of the Cryptex. Now let's talk about the Technomancer. It says movement 5 inches, but one of the things it does have is the Camta Cloak, which gives it 10-inch movement and the fly keyword. So why even say 5-inch movement in them? I don't get that. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 3 up. Strength 4, toughness 4. 4 wounds, 1 attack, leadership 10. 4 up save. But, and as I said, a Technomancer is, 75 points. With the cloak, 80 points. And a Camtech control node that would bring it to 95 points total. The Camtech cloak, also, in addition, at the end of your movement phase, you can repair one friendly Dynasty model within 3 inches of that model. That model regains up to D3 lost wounds. Again, it heals those around them. It's a great synergy to the to your Overlord, that's in the Catacomb command barge, or your vehicles. Each model can only be repaired once per turn. You can also give the Camtech control node, which then it has an aura ability, while a friendly Dynasty Camtech unit is within 6 inches of the model. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. So once again, a huge buffer to those around them. Sorry, it can only be equipped with one of the following. 1 Camtech cloak or 1 Camtech control node. Alright, so I would just take the cloak. It has living metal, so once again, gains a wound, command protocols. Dynastic advisors. If your army is battle forged, then each Cryptek unit, including the detachment that also contains at least 1 noble unit, a second Cryptek unit can be included in your detachment without taking up an additional battlefield roll slot. Cool if you want. Rights of reanimation. This is where they especially shine. Is that in your command phase, you can select 1 friendly Dynasty core unit within 6 inches of this model. 1 destroyed model from that unit is reanimated. If the selected unit is a Necron Warriors unit, D3 destroyed models from that unit are reanimated instead. Each unit can only be selected for this ability once per phase. So you keep a Cryptek right behind a giant blob of Necron Warriors, and you can get D3 back per turn. That's pretty awesome. He buffs those around them. So as I said, this is in my opinion, the 4 Crypteks are another great choice in this codex, especially for an HQ. And my favorite one is the Technomancer of those 4. He buffs those around them. He's fast. He's hard. He can, fight a little bit. Survivable, especially if you give him the 20-point upgrade, and then he basically can't be shot, which is pretty nice. Or else your opponent has to really just deal with him, get him really in close. And he really helps keep Necron Warriors alive. Number 3, my next favorite, and in my opinion, the best models in this codex, is the Necron Warriors. Surprise! If you're a Necron player, you should have tons of Necron Warriors. Of course, the new ones have a slightly large base size, slightly nicer model, slightly larger, and access to a new gun, the Gauss Reaper. Warriors are the bedrock of a Necron army, and I think they're going to be extremely competitive in this edition. Now let's talk about why. Number 1, you can take between 10 and 20 per squad. Minimum size is 10 per squad. Now your opponent will actually have to deal with them a lot. If you take a squad of 20, now they're now 13 points each, I believe, plus Gauss Flare. Let's see here. They got a slight point upgrade, slight increase. So they're 13 points each. So for 13 points, you get a movement 5 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3 up, strength 4, toughness 4, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 10, 4 up save. Now imagine a squad of 20 for 260 points. You get 20 guys with a 4 up armor if they're in cover, 3 up armor from shooting. One of the specials, one of the factions of Necrons you can take gives them a 5 up and feel no pain. So 5 up you can negate wounds. So 4 up armor, 5 up feel no pain. Each of them hitting on 3s, but again, they can have a Overlord beside them, giving them, hitting on 2s. With their rapid fire, 1 24-inch range guns, strength 4, AP -1, 1 damage. That will do a lot of firepower. Now that's going to help take out some Space Marines, some Orc Boys, Gene Stealers. It'll do a lot of shooting, especially from close range. You get, that's a lot of shots. Hitting on 2s or 3s, wounding most things on 4s. It's going to do a lot of damage. And that's going to be the infantry killer of this army. Plus, they're very survivable. Your opponent has to deal with them, basically in one phase at a time. Right? Your opponent has to deal with them. Because otherwise, if you only kill, let's say there's a squad of 20, your opponent kills 12 of them. Right? Boom. At the end of the phase, you get back up again. Now, with these guys, for their reanimation protocols, their number is Legion. So reroll reanimation protocol rolls of 1 made by this unit. There are ways to buff. As people already said in the Codex, there's ways of buffing their get-ups so they can actually be getting up on a 4-up. Reroll 1s. That's pretty crazy, right? So if you can get them to reroll reroll 1s on a 4-up to get up, if you kill 12 of them, statistically, 7 or 8 of them are getting up. So let's say 8 of them get back up again. Your opponent killed 12. He really killed 4. Huge difference. Their leadership is 10. So in the first situation, they kill 12 of your Necron warriors. Statistically, they're okay. They're not going to fail their leadership test. And they're going to keep surviving. So your opponent has to deal with a squad at a time. Otherwise, it's futile. Plus, the Resurrection Orb allows them to, once again, get up in the command phase of that turn. It's a one-time use where they get up during the command phase. You can basically just keep reviving these guys one at a time, one at a time. They don't have multiple wounds like the Space Marines, but they have incredible survivability if you don't get dealt with in one turn. So your opponent will have to just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, especially if they have the 5-up Feel No Pain. They're incredibly survivable. They're not very expensive. They're the cheapest units in the Codex. And they're troops, so they have objectives secured, right? So then your opponent then has to really deal with them. You stick squads of 20 on objectives, you'd be incredibly surprised how your opponent will kind of ignore them because they're a blob of 20, and each time they're going to get you points. Because again, if you hold an objective, 5 points. You hold 2 objectives, you get 10 points total. More than your opponent, 15 points. Right? They'll really score you a lot of points in the game. So that's my opinion. Necron Warriors, still huge. Now there's 2 choices of guns. As I mentioned, there's now 2 guns. There's either a 24-inch Rapid Fire 1 or a 12-inch range Assault 2. Strength 5, AP -2, 1 damage. Personally, I prefer the Gauss Flayer to the Gauss Reaper. But they're both cool. If you think your opponent's going to get in really close to them, take a bunch of Gauss Reapers, try them out. They'll help kill some Space Marines. You know? But, yeah, they're both good. Both good. So yeah, that's number 3. Necron Warriors. That's a kind of a surprise to me. Let's get on to number 4. So, my number 4 unit for the best units in this codex is Tomb Blades. Surprise! Once again, if you're a competitive Necron player, you'd already have an army of Tomb Blades. Tomb Blades are still the cream of the crop of the fast attacks. And in my opinion, they're a very strong unit in this game. Here's the reasons why. Number 1, they're very fast, right? Their movement is 14-inch range. So you know, if they turbo boost, they can get pretty far in the game, right? The whole point in this edition is you really want to be able to move on top of objectives and grab them as fast as possible and hold them. And these guys are pretty survivable and very fast. They can shoot really well. They're pretty generic in close combat, but they can grab things, they can move, they can fly, they can jump on top of objectives and score them and help you get points. It's all about the primaries right now, right? It's all about the primaries. And so, for the fast attacks, the Tomb Blades are base 25 points a model. Base. Now, you also have to pay for the Twin Gauss Blaster, the Twin Tesla Carbine, so adds another 5 points per model, so they're really 30 points per model base. But for 30 points a model base, you get a 14-inch movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3-up, strength 4, toughness 5, 2 wounds, 1 attack, leadership 10, 4-up save. They're core. So once again, these guys are an amazing synergy with the Catacomb Command Barge. They really are, because they work with core units. Awesome, right? Number 2, they come base with a Twin Gauss Blaster, and that's all I'd give them, right? You can give them the Tesla Carbine. I prefer the Rapid Fire 2 Gauss Blaster because you can probably get within 15-inch range a lot. It's 30-inch range, but you can Rapid Fire 2 becomes Rapid Fire 4, basically. 4 shots if you get within 15-inch range. Strength 5, AP -2, 1 damage each. The other is Tesla Carbine. But this is where it gets really fun with these guys. So depending on how many points you have, how many models you have, what you want to do, they're very customizable. So you can give them, you can replace it with a Tesla, as I said, Tesla Carbine. Any number of models can be equipped with shield vanes. So shield vanes give the model a 3+ armor save. So it becomes a 4-up, goes down to a 3-up. I like that, right? You put them in cover, 2-up. Pretty cool. And you can also take a Shadow Loom or a Nebula Scope. Nebula Scope is each time the bearer makes a ranged attack, they ignore cover. I don't really care about that one because it's AP -2, so it becomes AP -1. Cool, right? That's cool to me. I prefer to give them instead a Shadow Loom, which is a 5-up invulnerable save. So if you really want these guys to be insane, give them a 3-up armor, right? 5-up invul. Take the faction that gives you a 5-up Feel No Pain. They're survivable as heck. 2 wounds each. Remember, they're core, so you can use a Cryptech and put 1 back in every turn. You can create a new one. You can use your res orbs on them. You can, because they have, of course, reanimation protocols. They have living metal. So every turn that there's an injured one, it just heals itself. Like, these things are hilarious. Command protocols, evasion endgame, engrams. Each time a ranged attack is made against this unit, subtract 1 to the hit rolls. They're incredibly survivable. These guys, they're not the best shooting. They have some decent shooting, but they are survivable. They are incredibly fast, incredibly survivable. You can customize them by giving them invols, better armor save, synergize with the Cryptechs, synergize with the Catacomb command barges. They're incredible. An incredible choice. Once again, your opponent has to deal with all of them. And just there's so many rolls here that if your opponent doesn't deal with all of them, some of them are going to get back up again and annoy the crap out of your opponent. And that's awesome. So once again, we're 4 models in. And Catacomb command barge. Everyone should have it. Yeah, right? Everyone should have it. The Cryptechs, if you bought the last box set, everyone should have it. Warriors, everyone should have it already. Necron, right? Necron players. And number 4, Tomb Blades. Now, before I get to my number 1 choices, we all know what's going to be. My runner-up in this process, if I was to choose a 6th choice, I would have chosen the Silent King. Now, the reason why I'm not choosing the Silent King, number 1, it's an expensive model, right? 450 points. Has a lot of cool special rules, buffs a lot of those around it. The reason why I don't like the Silent King is just because I know my number 1 choice is going to be taken a lot in codices, and if that combined with the Silent King is 800 points, 40% of your army, I don't see the Silent King being taken a lot, especially over, I could be wrong, best looking new model in this codex. The Tesseract Vault for an extra 50 points, I think is stronger, personally. But Silent King's great. Silent King is great. Those don't play my video. Now, the reason why I don't like the Silent King as much, number 1, very killable. Right? 4-up invulnerable save. But with the Silent King, he has a wounds characteristic as well. He does have his Triarchal Menhir, which basically take wounds for him. So really has like 26 wounds. But once you start knocking off wounds on him, he gets weak pretty fast and loses his abilities pretty fast and loses his weapons pretty fast. Not only does he lose attacks and wounds and movement, he also loses his weapons. So, for example, has 8 or fewer wounds, it cannot make attacks with his Staff of the Stars and loses the Pharaon of the Stars ability. And if he if Cedric has 4 more wounds, where he cannot make attacks with the Scythe of Dust and loses the Pharaon of Blades. So he loses the Scythe of Dust and he loses the Staff of Stars. So that's it, right? So the more weaker you nail him, not only does he lose his attacks, he loses his aura abilities and he loses his weapons. And so I don't think he's the best in the great model, but I don't think he's going to help the people around him. But I think if your opponent's smart, pick on him turn 1, knock off a bunch of wounds. He does have living metal, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so we gain back a wound, but still, once you start dealing with him, he becomes weak pretty quickly. Yeah. And he has a lot of rules. A lot of rules to buff those guys around him. A lot of attacks. His shooting isn't really that crazy, other than he does have an Annihilation Beam, which is 36 in range, heavy 1, strength 12, AP minus 4, 6 damage. So hopefully whatever shoots at, he gets through, does 6 damage. Yeah, that's it. So yes, it's Silent King, really awesome model. 450 points. If he didn't lose his weapons as he got weaker, now he does have 2 things that, takes wounds for him, but whatever. So cool. Now, of course, we get to the best choices in the Codex. Now, in my opinion, there's no decision. It's not really hard to decide. But the best part of the Codex are the Catan shards, as I mentioned. the 4 Catan shards are better than the Tesseract Vault. Tesseract Vault does get extra attacks with its, Catan powers, but it's huge. Number 1, 500 points. Number 2, right? So the Tesseract Vault takes up a quarter of your army if you're playing at 2,000 points. The Tesseract Vault is not hideable anywhere. It's huge. You can't hide it. It's going to get shot at. It has tons of wounds, but it may not survive. It has a good invulnerable save. Your opponent will have to deal with it, but still, as I said, it's a huge target. Versus the 4 Catan shards. Now, the new Catan shard of the Void Dragon looks amazing, but it's a huge model. The other 3 Catan shards, the Catan shard of the Deceiver, the Nightbringer, and the Transcendent, are small. Right? They're in fact kind of skinny. They're tall, but they're not very big models. And so, Catan shard of the Deceiver, the Nightbringer, and the Transcendent, you can hide. Right? You can actually block line of sight. Makes them extra survivable. Helps them do what they want to do, because they're essentially ghosts, right? They can move through things. It's like the way that they move. They fly. Yeah, they fly. So they can essentially jump over walls. So it makes them much easier to hide. All 4 of the other Catans are 350 points. Now the best one in the Codex, in my opinion, is the Nightbringer. Number 1. Nightbringer is the best. And once again, the Nightbringer, for those who, Nightbringer is one of the oldest Catan shards it's the oldest Catan shard in the game. So every Necron player would have a Necron Catan shard Nightbringer already in their army. So pretty much all the models that I've said today should already be in your army if you're a Necron player. Pretty cool. But for 350 points, Catan shard of the Nightbringer, you get movement 8 inches, so they're faster. Weapon skill 2 up, ballistic skill 2 up, strength 7, toughness 7, 9 wounds, 6 attacks, leadership 10, 4 up save. Cool. The Catan shard of the Nightbringer, in my opinion, is the scariest thing in the game in close combat. Your opponent would have to be very arrogant, or have it whittled down to maybe a wound or 2, to want to take on the Nightbringer. Whatever it faces, it will likely kill. Because it can do Catan powers, right? So it knows the Catan powers, and also has a specific Catan power that it knows. So basically it's going to cause a lot of mortal wounds, right? It knows the Gaze of Death Catan power, and 1 other Catan power from the Powers Catan page. At the end of your movement phase, if this model does not advance or fall back, it can use 2 of Catan powers it knows. It cannot use the same power more than once per turn, but there is a stratagem that you can use to make it cast the same power twice. If you roll that, roll randomly and get that one, it's nasty. It's going to cause a lot of mortal wounds, but it's incredibly survivable. It has living metal, so it gains a wound a turn. It has a Necrodermis, which is a 4-up invulnerable save, and it cannot lose more than 3 wounds per phase. Any wounds that would be lost after that points are not lost. That's huge. So essentially your opponent has to deal with this Catan shard. Enslaved Star God, it can never have a relic or a warlord trait. In addition, enemy models can ignore the Lookout Sir rule when selecting this model is a target of a ranged attack. Reality unravels. It can explode and drain life each time this model makes a melee attack that is allocated to an enemy unit. That enemy model cannot use any rules to ignore the wound is lost. That's huge. And it has Scythe the Nightbringer, which is 2 modes in melee attack. Strength user, which is 7, AP minus 3, 1 damage, and it makes 2 attacks instead of 1. So it'll be having 12 attacks. There's no wound shard on this. Or Entropic Blow. Strength times 2, 14. AP minus 4, D6. And invulnerable saves cannot be made against this attack. So, your opponent will have at best a 6-up armor save. If they have a 2-up armor save, which was a 4-up, because you can't take invulnerable saves. 6-up armor. Feel no pains, don't count. Otherwise, 6 attacks, which will be hitting on 2s. Wounding on 2s, most likely. Toughness, strength 14. D6 each. You roll the dice, you expect 5d6 worth of damage. This thing can one-shot kill a knight if it got really lucky. That's nuts. Nuts. Right? And 9 wounds, doing my most 3. Now, I know what you're thinking. 9 wounds, I can deal with that over 3 phases. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. However, here's my counter-argument. Here's my counter-argument. Number 1. Very few things hurt you in the movement phase, unless it's another Catan. Catan powers will cause mortal wounds in the movement phase. Psychic phase, most psychic powers, not all. If you're going to smite them, closest enemy model. Right? You have to have a psychic heavy army that has something that doesn't only shoot the closest model. So psychic powers may not be as easy to take this thing down unless you ever run a very psychic heavy list. But again, you have to be the closest model. And the odds are this model will be bubble wrapped. Or if you're within 12 inches of it, you're going to die if it survives. So it's very hard to take it down in the psychic phase. Shooting phase, easy. You can shoot at a distance with a las cannon. You know, get through its toughness 7, 4 up armor, or invul. Right? You just have to get through its invul. You can do some damage. You can do your 3 damage. The assault phase, as I said, if it has wounds left, it doesn't have a wound bar, it's going to kill whatever it touches in close combat. So you're going to have to send in some sacrificial lambs that you know will do damage to it and survive. It can kill up to 12 models a turn. That's insane, right? It's incredibly strong in close combat. So you have to be pretty arrogant or know your stuff to send in something against it. And if you do a multi-assault, multiple things assault, this thing can intercept, spend 2 command points, and it goes, and it'll kill whatever you assaulted in. So in the assault phase, not as easy. Let's say you have a one-dimensional army, like Tau, shooty space marines, shooty Necrons, shooty orcs. Shooty will have a problem with this guy. Because if you're only doing 3 wounds a turn, it heals 1 wound a turn. So it'll take you minimum 4 turns. 4 turns. To kill him. And in those 4 turns, he's going to do some damage. Another option is, what if he just camped a Catan on an objective? Bubble wrap him. He can't be really targeted by psychic powers. Probably couldn't get in close combat. You have something that you can't shake off an objective for 4 turns. It's nasty. Incredibly nasty. And so, I'm not saying they're unkillable. If your opponent gets lucky, psychic power, shooting, assault. He can die in 1 turn. I don't see that happening. And if he doesn't die in 1 turn, which means something has to be in close combat with him, he's going to kill something in close combat. It's nasty. So, yeah. There you go. So that's it. The Catan Shard of the Void Dragon is a close second to the Nightbringer. He has a Spear of a Void Dragon. Basically the same stat line, 1 less strength, but has 1 less attack. Cool. 3 up armor save. His weapon is Spear of the Void Dragon, which is a shooting mode, 12-inch range, heavy 1, strength 9, AP -4, DD6. But each time an attack is made with his weapon, if a hit is scored, draw a straight line between the closest point of the model's base and the closest model in that target. Make 1 wound roll against the target unit, and each unit this line passes over. Each time an attack made with his weapon is allocated to a vehicle, that damage characteristic is D3 plus 3 as opposed to D6. Cool. It has Canoptech Tail Blades, which are strength user AP -2 D1, but it makes D6 additional attacks, so it can do up to 11 attacks. And Spear of the Void Dragon melee, strength plus 3, so strength 9, AP -4 DD6, but it does D3 plus 3 against vehicles. So as I said, the reason why, and a lot of the same rules as the Catan Shard, but the reason why I don't think it's as good as the Catan Shard of the Nightbringer is, number 1, bigger model, harder to hide, not as good in close combat, just as survivable. But cool. But what a cool rule does have is at the end of each phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy vehicle model destroyed as a result of an attack made by this Catan power. Made by either this model or Catan power used by this model. For each 2+, this model regains 1 lost wound to a maximum of 3. So he can help generate himself live a little longer. But as I said, in my opinion, the Catan Shard of the Nightbringer is better. So there you have it. All the models. The best parts of this codex. The Silent King is good, and the new Catan Shard is good too. I feel if you're a Necron player and you have a lot of the old models, you're in great shape with this new codex. I really do feel that. So what do you think? What are your opinion on what I said is the top 5 models in this codex? As I said, they're really all 5 Catan Shards, but let's just look at one Catan Shard and then the rest. And what do you think? What do you think about the new codex? What do you think? Is it going to be survival? I think it's going to be a good, this is going to be a solid codex and a meta changer for a while. What do you think? Leave comments in the comment section down below. Let's create a discussion. Stay tuned for more videos and about these reviews. I'll tackle the worst ones in the next video. Stay tuned for more videos. And as always, this is brought to you by my Patreon campaign. As you can see, their names go by my head because of them that I can set aside some time and make these videos. Please, if you want to help support my videos, check out the link in the description down below. So, stay tuned for more videos about the Necron Codex. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting.